Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you probably a quick one, but this is just to add a little bit of whimsy in times of woe. Woe being that I've probably talked about some woe, and some of you are probably a little bit more whimsical about the changes that happened recently, the points changes. And with that, I have literally just a whimsical idea because have to remember that just like if any of you are familiar with Pokemon, you're probably familiar with this saying that every Pokemon is somebody's favorite Pokemon, and that's true. And much like that, for us over here in 40K, every model is somebody's favorite model. So have a couple of things just to bring up Subterranean Assault, and this also comes off of the back of a comment made by Fire Drake. Fire Drake, I don't, reveal commenters' secrets in a video. Try not to. But if Fire Drake, if you're seeing this and want to explain a little bit more about what you said in a comment going into this one, uh, gave me this little brainworm, and the fact that how many of our data sheets would be better if they just re-rolled one? Would they have to take a certain thing with it or not? Would they have to do anything extra? What would happen if this data sheet just re-rolled once? And thankfully in Subterranean Assault, you can just re-roll ones. So that's why we've seen probably the best agreement of it being our best detachment flat out starting there, right? It gives us the mobility that we've been asking for, but it also just gives us re-roll ones, and that goes a long way. So with that, let's talk about some things that saw change. One of them being Turvy. Now, I'm a Turvy liker, right? I haven't had good reason to put her on the table recently, but, do like me some Turvy. And with that, Turvy went down in points to 160. You have the ability with Brood, Brood Progenitor, while a friendly Termagants model is within 6 inches of this model, ranged weapons equipped by models in the unit have lethal hits. Why is that the thing that I want to highlight? Well, lethal hits, reroll ones on a bunch of Termagants, even if you're not coming in and out of holes, isn't too bad. And, mind you, do want to say this over here, that with replenishing swarms, one Tyranid unit from your army, wholly within 9 inches of one or more tunnel markers you place, one model in your unit regains up to D3 plus 1 lost wounds, or you can return up to D3 plus 1 destroyed models with a wounds characteristic of 1 to your unit with their full wounds remaining. So, you can regenerate up to 4 models for the cost of 1 CP, and then Turvy also regenerating some as well with spawn Termagants. In your command phase, you can select one friendly Termagants unit within 6 inches of this model and return up to D3 plus 3 destroyed models to that unit. A Termagants unit cannot be selected for this ability more than once per phase. So, even there's even more hope for playing Swarm in Subterranean Assault than arguably Unending Swarm. I joke, I kid. But, that said, you could have bricks of 20, regenerating, popping in and out of holes like they do in lore, and I believe in Space Marines, too. I believe so. I'm pretty sure I've seen other than Hormagaunts and Warriors come out, right? Um, Disclosure, I didn't play it, sorry. Um, you can do the thing. You can bring Trigon, you can bring Raveners, make them come out of holes. Turvy 160, Termagants, lethal hits, rerolling. And also, here's the other one that you'll see me talk about a couple of times over here. Infiltrating emergence. End of your movement phase, when Tyranid unit from your army that was set up as reinforcements this turn. Until the end of your next fight phase, weapons equipped by models in your unit have sustained hits 1 and ignore cover. Now, is it the utmost damage output to make a Termagant have lethal, sustained, ignore cover, reroll 1? No, as you can see on most of the weapons, the AP is 0. Alright, so it doesn't do that much, but it would be nice in crucial times. And then hell, a spike rifle might. You're not taking a spike rifle, but if you have it on it, fuck it, maybe. Um, It's not the most, but it is just something if you want a little bit of whimsy. But monster, I hear you say. I can do what Turvy does with a Hive Tyrant. I can give them assault and lethal without bringing Turvy. And that's true. That's just if you want to bring Turvy and the Termagants somewhere at this point in 10th edition. That's purely why I would say that. But past that, a lot of people like the Hive Tyrant. Lethal's rerolling hit rolls of 1 is a pretty good thing. That's why I, for most of Subterranean Assault, have been saying I prefer the Hive Tyrant versus Swarmlord in that situation for specifically that. Move them around, tuck Hive Tyrant behind a wall, 6 inches out, reroll 1s, lethal. Fair enough, right? But going a little bit further, going back to this, you have again Infiltrating, emergence, sustained, lethal, reroll 1s, ignore cover. You'll see that be there. Barbgaunt, just a cheap little thing. This again, just coming off of the back of this actually is technically out of order from the way that I thought about it. I came back to Barbgaunt after the thing that I'm going to talk about next, but it made more sense to talk about it here. Barbgaunts and Barb Bombs. Talked about Barb Bombs several times over, and I'm surprised that we haven't seen the Matt Laura Vanguard Onslaught Barbgaunt build transition over here, where you take a shitload of Barbgaunts that can move. So if Barbgaunts that have heavy blast whatever can be picked up, dropped somewhere else for relatively cheap, 55 points for 5, 110 for 10. Blast, D6 shots, hitting on 4s, re-rolling 1s. Again, could be sustained, ignore cover, could be also on top of that lethal hit. So sustained, ignore cover, lethal hits, re-rolling 1s, barb bombs, that means 10 models, D6 shots. Yeah, and teleporting because of holes, re-rolling 1s. It's not the most things you would ever do, and that's a lot of dice for you to roll at a time, but hell, if you want to do it, fuck it. Now, to the thing that technically was before, I was trying to go on the track of sustained lethal hits, as you can see. And then maybe, just finally, the ranged warriors might be a thing. Now, I know you put Wing Tyranid Prime, melee warriors, they already have reroll 1s, so, like, you're really doing it for the sustained, or you could just take the melee warriors, 75 points. As we've seen, I'm pretty sure I covered a list a couple of months ago that had, just 2 or 3 packages of MSU warriors that have reroll hit rolls of 1, and then with Infiltrating Emergence, they could have sustained that way as well, without the additional tax of the Wing Tyranid Prime. But the Wing Tyranid Prime, as we know, has Alpha Warrior. While this model is in a unit, weapons equipped by models in that unit have Sustained Hitch 1. Sustained Hitch 1 on some range that could possibly get lethal. And again, if maybe you lose the Wing Tyranid Prime, it gets precisioned out, or maybe you don't take it at all and just want to infiltrate an emergence, a Venom Cannon, a Barb Strangler, and Death Spitter, right? Things that actually have AP. Maybe you go about it that way, just for 65 points to do a thing. Again, this is purely for whimsy. I don't expect it to do a lot for, like, I don't know, RTT or GT. But, if there's enough cheap points to spare, there you go. So, that was kind of where I was at. Sustained, lethals, cheap, the ranged warriors, Barbgaunts, Termagants, right? And then wrapping it all up, something that we have seen recently and I have been told about, but I'll cover this probably in a separate video to itself because I didn't want to talk about lists just yet. I want to see something first. But Neurolictor came down to 70 points. If there's some battle shock that happens, you know what it is. +1 to wound, right? +1 to wound within a foot of a Neurolictor. You know what? You love it. Make it pop through a hole. Make it move around. Has blown up. Hopefully you can keep it alive just well enough with a 4-up invuln and 7 wounds to get more value out of it somewhere else. Now, keep in mind, it happens during the command phase. So, if you move after the command phase, it's not like you're going to be able to trigger the test yourself. But if you do Shadow in the Warp, right, and you see that something got battle shock that's a little bit tasty, you can move the Neurolictor over to that battle shock thing for +1 to wound against it. You know, could do that. But just saying, all of it comes back to, yeah, I am recommending Subterranean Assault for some shenanigans, but if you are just trying to do something with some of the things that got a little bit of points changes or some models that you particularly love, there's that. Also, before I forget, Vanguard Intellect is a little bit funny. It's his Tyranids model with Deep Strike ability only. The bearer's unit can be set up using the Deep Strike ability in the reinforcement step of your first, second, or third movement phase, regardless of any mission rules. Well, the Winged Tyrant Prime has Deep Strike. If you attach this, rules as written currently, to, the warriors, because the gargoyles already have Deep Strike, you can put it so that the ranged warriors that I just recommended, having sustained lethal situation, or maybe for melee warriors, can Deep Strike in the first, second, or third turn, and then there you go. So that's even something funnier that rules as written should work, and I don't see any reason why it doesn't. If they can make a Kroot Deep Strike and fly or whatever the hell that happens in, what was it, Auxiliary, I think we'll be fine doing it here in Subterranean Assault until, of course, we get FAQ'd because no fun for bugs. I don't know. But yeah, if you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.